Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the FACE webinar series. This webinar series. We're calling it Transformation Essentials. We're doing it. We've been doing some webinars for the TPO audiences and college management and faculty for quite some time now. But in this period where we're looking at lockdown measures affecting educational institutions, we thought it might be a good time to bring in external corporates and external speakers to kind of help you understand and improve the situation in your respective institutions with respect to technology capabilities, with respect to skill capabilities, etc., in kind of pushing towards better and innovative solutions. In today's webinar, I have with me Mr. Amit Nevatia from Amazon Web Services and Mr. Sriram Padmanabhan from SRM Institute of Science and Technology. I thank you both for coming in. So I'd quickly be introducing them and then I'll be handing over to Mr. Amit to start the session. So Amit is the Educate program lead at AWS, Amazon Web Services. Amit is an accomplished business leader with over 22 years of experience in the education management and skill development space, driving revenue through building and maintaining client relationships. He's contributed immensely to various organizations such as AWS, Rice India, Pearson VUE, Microsoft, NIIT, and SSI. Amit would be discussing with us how AWS can potentially help your institution in improving your learning capabilities. He would be talking specifically about AWS Educate. He'll be also talking about the ecosystem of jobs around AWS. So he'll be making a presentation after that too. At the end, he'll be also taking some Q&A. We also have with us Mr. Sriram Padmanabhan. Sriram is the Director Career Center at the SRM Institute of Science and Technology. He manages both the placement office and the CDC and across all the different campuses of SRM IST. Now, Sriram's wide-ranging experience spans automobile, auto component engineering and service sectors in India, Oman, UAE and Bahrain. He has worked in organizations such as Mahindra Navistar, CII, Brakes India and the Murugappa Group. He's an alumnus of XLRI Jamshedpur. I welcome you both to this webinar, sirs, and over to you, Amit, for the session.
One of the key factors here is to accept the change, accept what the trends shows us, and accordingly adapt ourselves to the new ways of working and the new ways of life. And I'm sure everyone on this panel and on this session would agree that things are going to change. Things are not going to go back to what they were pre-COVID. There are going to be certain ways of life that we'll have to change, whether it's in terms of social distancing, whether it's in terms of wearing masks all the time, or even in our education system where we look at online classes. There are talks about online degrees. There are talks about how can we personalize learning for students. So I think embracing and adapting to the external trends is also very, very crucial. As a little bit about AWS, there are hundreds and millions of students and research organizations and researchers using AWS today. One of the stats is that out of the 20 most well-funded US edtech startups, 19 of them run on AWS. 96% of research institutions use AWS for their research activities. This has highly increased right now in the last 60 days with so many research and R&D capabilities and work happening around the COVID-19. Healthcare is the highest user of AWS right now in terms of doing research. And AWS as an organization is also working closely with a lot of these medical research institutions to help them in their research activities. So in a way, we can always say that education is built on AWS. These are some of the logos that we can share, just some of sample of the people who are using AWS. But then looking at what we need to discuss today, is how can we play a role in the three primary segments of education, which is higher education, K-12, and the edtech and learning companies. While all these three stakeholders have been closely associated with AWS in terms of either being a customer or a partner, but the question is how can we bring them together on board for building tomorrow's workforce, looking at how machine learning can be more effectively used, and how do we help institutions to innovate and transform themselves. So we'll take these three topics one by one. So innovation and transformation, I think everyone is looking at the cycle where the most important thing is about student engagement, and how can we now look at student engagement with the introduction of voice technology, look at cloud innovation centers, since we know that students will not be coming back to the campuses for some time. Can we look at propagating the culture of innovation even sitting at home, and use the cloud technologies to help them get the access of the cloud services and help them innovate? I'm sure you would have seen there are so many hackathons which have been launched by various government ministries, whether it's the Ministry of HRD, AICTE, MyGov. There's so many hackathons which are being currently launched to help students think about ideas and innovate to basically and come up with solutions during this pandemic that we are witnessing. Most of these hackathons have been worked upon by students sitting at home, and that has been made possible because of cloud technologies that they have used. Research labs, or whether it is about digital equity. So this is basically a cycle which is going beyond infrastructure. Cloud is not just about the IT infrastructure, but it's about engaging with students, innovation, and creating a culture of innovation across institutions. And for that, we have a program known as AWS Campus. Mr. Sriram is here from SRM Institution. So they are a proud a member of the AWS Campus. And the objective of this program is to basically work collaboratively with institutions and walk the path of a transformational journey and make the institutions and the students ready for the Industry 4.0. We all envisage the Industry 4.0 to be 3 to 4 years ahead of us. But I think with the COVID situation, that has got expedited, and we are actually staring at the Industry 4.0 kind of job roles in the immediate future. Some of the examples of institutions that have been using cloud and taking benefit, I'm not going to speak too much about them. These are self-explanatory. But moving on to the next item, which is the role of machine learning. It's very, very surprising to understand that when we talk about artificial intelligence and machine learning, it's all about human expertise being done in a manner which is automated and scalable. And machine learning does require a lot of data. And 90% of data that we have today has been created just in the last 2 years. This is very, very surprising, right? Because we all understood that we have data, but then the way that data is now getting generated on a daily basis is humongous. And we need to now use that untapped data into predictive analysis. We no more want to know why things happened and what happened, but we want to know what is going to happen in the future. Are we taking the right steps to impact the students? Are we taking the right steps to impact our institution's progress? And do some predictive analysis on understanding trends rather than doing at postmortem. And Amazon has a long history of using machine learning for various activities, whether it's doing predictive analysis on your purchase history and predicting and showing you forecasts of what are the other items that you may like, or it's about Amazon Alexa interacting with students and also with public at large to just make them order a pizza or book a Ola cab or listen to music. Drones, which are now being used for fulfilling orders for our customers. We have been using robotics and robots at our fulfillment centers to expedite the delivery of items. So machine learning and has been an integral part of how Amazon has been working and using it. And now we want to transfer that expertise and that knowledge that we have gained into the education system, wherein what we look at is these are the 5 topics or the 5 bullet points that we think machine learning will play a role in education, which is modernized student experience and engagement, operations and adaptive learning and content discovery, conversational interfaces, content localization, research and innovation, and provide competitive advantage to institutions. And Alexa for education has just been recently launched in India also. We have these universities in the US and other places which have been extensively using Alexa, but now it is available in India also. Now, so the next topic is about building the workforce, and I think that's the interest area for all of us today on the call, where the government, the industry, and the education institutions have to play a collaborative role. I don't think the institutions on their own or the industry on its own can achieve the success parameters that are looked forward at. So I think the government also now has to relook at some of the policies on including technology, including online methods of delivery and assessment. The industry has to play a much more active role in terms of the kind of jobs that are going to be available in the future, and also helping institutions to provide exposure and content to students related to those emerging jobs. And education institutions have to be open to adapt and quickly turn around the effectiveness of this collaboration and make that real impact with the student community. Today, we have at Amazon various programs which we collaborate with the various institutions, whether it is the Amazon Training and Certification, AWS Training and Certification team, the Amazon Career Choice. We have AWS Academy, we have AWS Educate, we have Amazon Future Engineer, Alexa for Education, we have Cloud Innovation Centers as a program. So there are various initiatives that at AWS we have to engage. And one of the programs that I would like to speak is about AWS Educate. It is a no-cost program to education institutions and helps you to provide foundational technology skills to both faculty and student, along with hands-on practicals and access to projects and assignments. It is the first step towards building that culture of adapting to emerging technologies. It gives you the curated content, it gives you the exercises, and it gives you access to the AWS console along with cloud credits, so that you don't have to worry about payment of any of the AWS services that are being used during the teaching and learning process. And some of the institutions, apart from SRM, which is already a part of this program, have been taking advantage of the Educate program to work with their students and make them highly employable in terms of the new age job roles that we envisage. I will pause right now, and I would love Mr. Sriram or anyone else to maybe ponder upon and on the points that I've raised. And Mr. Sriram should also share his experience of what he thinks of the things that I've shared, and we can then take questions.
Yes. First of all, let me once again thank Vijay from FACE and Amit for the very concise and informative presentation. I hope I'm audible to everyone. Vijay, can you just check?
Yes, sir, you're audible. If you could just accept the webcam request.
Yes. Okay. You want me to put on the webcam? Share my webcam. Okay. Okay. Is that okay?
Great. That's fine.
Right. So the first thing that now I'm going to be confining my talk, which would be more from a user perspective and a platform and technology agnostic. So I'm going to be just sharing the SRM experience in terms of what we are doing, what our expectations are, and going forward, how do we see things panning out in a world post COVID, which Amit touched upon in the course of his presentation. So first of all, as most of you would be knowing, SRM is one of India's large private universities, and we have in SRM IST, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, we have four campuses, three in and around Chennai, and one in the Delhi NCR area in a place called Modi Nagar. Now, yes, we have, been using, integrating online learnings to the extent possible, as Amit mentioned. In fact, it may not be out of place to point out here that we quite, early on we introduced, gave the flexibility to the students to take one course for which they would be getting credit on any of the recognized MOOC platforms. It could be NPTEL or it could be Coursera, for which they would be given the credit. So we have already done that. Now, what which came out again in the discussion is that post-COVID world, it has only that urgency has now become a little more, and it is one thing is clear is that online learning is definitely here to stay, and would perhaps play an increasing role in education in the days to come. And obviously the advantages are there for all of us to see in terms of the ease of use, in terms of the flexibility, in terms of the ability of the platform to deliver the best of content from all over the world on a platter, as it were. Having said that, there are some disadvantages also, in that there is a certain lack of social interaction, and also to a certain extent there is a limitation on the personalization, which is both I would say a potential as well as a challenge. So that is what it is broadly. And now what we have done as an institution is that we have been switching over both in the academic sphere to deliver as many courses in the formal sense to the students online. That is something which we have already started. And also a major portion of what we do, the work that we do in the career center, is that we prepare students for placements, which is the work of the vertical called Career Development Center, or CDC as we call it, and also then place the students, which is the work of the placement office. So the career center, which I head in SRM, encompasses both the CDC as well as the placement office. So in the CDC, we have been, in fact, using the services of our valued partners like FACE to integrate the placement related training and provide it to the students, so that the students don't waste their time. They are using this time more productively and getting ready for the placements as and when we open up. So, but having said that, this is a world in which now we going forward, what I feel is that this is the area of mass customization, now using technology and delivering it to the masses, as well as trying to customize it to the extent possible. So, which is what I would call a mass customization, and that is what is possible with the use of this technology. And going forward, what I think would become the norm and what would define a successful institution is the ability of the institution to harmoniously blend both the online and the offline mediums. Going forward, we are moving into a hybrid area where it'll be a hybrid of online and offline. And what would really distinguish a very successful institution is how they can manage both the online and offline mode. Trying to say that it is, I don't think it's an either or game. It is not one at the cost of the other. It is both have to coexist, and the institutions, those institutions which manage to blend both harmoniously, are the ones which would be successful in the future going forward. With this, I will take a pause here, and I'll be happy to take any comments or questions from my co-panelists or from anyone else. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, and thank you also, Amit, for setting a good context for this discussion. I'd now like to probably start with a question to Sriram, sir, about generally the trends you've been seeing in people taking up specific, pathways in terms of the courses that you offered. You talked about MOOCs being made available on a credit basis. What are the other things that you have been doing to probably encourage students to pick up newer skill sets and technologies?
So, during this period, okay, now let me also tell you that there is this other university we have in Amravati in AP, and the first set of graduates would be passing out in 2021. So, we have been now increasingly using, technology to prepare those students and get them placement ready. In the days to come, which also includes providing training to the students online, and also their academic classes online, so that they don't waste their time and they are ready for the placement season whenever it opens. Normally it starts in end July, but now with all this happening, we expect that to get staggered by a couple of months, and we expect that to begin probably in mid-October or in early November.
All right. My next question would be to Amit about, you spoke about the ecosystem of jobs. So you spoke about AWS Educate, you spoke about AWS training and certifications, etc. So in terms of cloud computing, is there any direct pathway, I mean, just for an institution which is considering getting started with AWS Educate, what would be the first steps they can consider, and what is it that how could their, let's say, short-term plan be? Let's say I take up something as a first step, then I can probably navigate to the next further step.
Yeah, thanks, Vijay. I think, see, the first step to my mind is, yes, there can be processes, there can be, guidance provided. But I think the first step is for the institution faculties to accept the fact that, as Mr. Sriram put it very rightly, it's going to be a hybrid world, right? And both online and offline is going to coexist. So the first step is to actually accept that fact, right? And once we accept that fact, Educate provides you the online tools to start the foundational courses. So the institutions will have to become members. As I mentioned, it's a no-cost membership. All they need to do is just go online, provide the details of their institution, their email IDs, the size of the institution, and they can get registered. Once the institution becomes a member, the students and the faculties of that institution can join the program under that institution, so that the institution has data to say, okay, these many students have registered, and this is how the progress of each student looks like from an institution perspective. So it's all about just going online. The way you create a Gmail account, you just have to create an account on AWS Educate by signing in. That's all that is there. But more importantly, the first step from a learning perspective is once they come onto the portal, they become members and they join the program. The first thing is to actually uh, go through the first basic course, which is a Cloud 101. It is important for us to understand what is cloud and what are the areas in which cloud can help us, because it's a myth. I've heard this from various faculty members and students that cloud doesn't, cloud just means storage, right? So, and that's something that is a very, very incorrect statement. So I would encourage everyone who becomes a member of Educate to first go through the cloud module, which is a short 25 hours of online learning to understand what is cloud. And then there are pathways. There are 11 pathways on Educate, which the students can choose based on their choice, which may be in the field of machine learning. It could be in the field of data science or cybersecurity, cloud architecture or IoT, or voice technology using Alexa. So depending on their choice and their interest area, they can take up the further modules.
All right. Thank you, Amit, for that response. So now I'm starting to get some questions from the audiences. I'll probably pick and post that to the panelists here. In the meantime, if Amit and Sriram, if you have questions for each other, please feel free to get started.
Sure. I think if Amit is okay, we can get started with the audience questions and we can then take it as it comes.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the first question comes from Mr. Bhaskaran Venkatraman. The question is about very specifically the placement scenario in the post-COVID era. So he's talking about, I mean, if you could talk about, there's two distinct groups of companies. We call them product companies and service-oriented companies. Sriram, sir, would you see any specific trend or would you have any insights to offer on this particular question?
Yeah. Okay. Fine. That's a good question, and which I'm sure is kind of in the top of the mind for any university administrator, because placements certainly play a big role. In the selection of a university for awards education. So let me first give you the situation as is, as it were, pre-COVID till this, COVID struck with full force in the early part of this year. So let me go step back in time, to about 6 months back. So we were actually riding high. Given our size, given the huge number of students that we have, our placement process, runs for pretty much the entire year. So, for example, for the graduating class of 2020, we started the placement process way back in July 2019. And I must, say here that we had a record number of placements for the graduating class of 2020 from, companies. In fact, for quite a few companies, the so-called, the day one recruiters, for 4 of them, they made the highest number of offers in any one campus in India, in our campus in SRM. So that is the situation as we, enter 2020. And we were actually, the placement season was, continuing till COVID forced us to, suspend this whole process on March 16th. Now, even as we speak, we are still hoping that once we resume, we may be able to invite some recruiters who haven't expressed interest to the campus to complete their, recruitment processes, the procedures to recruit the 2020 batch students. And wherever possible, we have actually encouraged companies, where they had the technology and the means, and they were willing to do the processes online, both the testing as well as the interviews. We have done that, and we are happy about that. So now, by God's grace, as we speak, all the major recruiters, we have not got, any news to the contrary. We expect all of them to honor, most of them to honor the offers made in the campus uh, for the 2020 graduating class who should have graduated, in May, and we are trying to now help them in this process by doing as many of the processes online. For example, for many students, it is just the project review and the project viva-voce, which is pending, and which we are trying to now complete it online, so that the students are, from our side, they are ready to onboard as soon as the company is, ready to onboard them. In fact, we have started getting inquiries from companies as to when, our students would be ready to onboard. Now, having said that, now what would happen is that going forward for the 2021 batch, uh, uh, I see two things happening. One is that the companies, coming to campus, that would get staggered a little. So under normal circumstances, we typically start with the super dream companies, as we call them, to to come to the campus by the third week of July. Now that process, as I mentioned earlier, we expect that to get staggered. And the second thing which might happen is that those companies, who have made offers to our 2020 batch students, the onboarding perhaps might take a little longer time, and which perhaps could also, have some impact on the 2021 batch hiring. So the net result would be that the whole process would get staggered. Now, as regards this question, the point about IT product or IT services, how that they would individually pan out, early days, difficult for me to say.
All right. Thank you, sir. The next question is to Amit. I'm going to join two questions together. The first question is from Sangha Reddy. The question is, would someone be able to take the 25-hour online course as an individual, or should that happen necessarily through an institute? The next question is from Dr. Aruna Lata. She's asking if is there any specific criteria for joining the course as an outgoing student, let's say the batch of 2020, which is already outside, passed out of an institution?
Yeah, thanks, Vijay. So I will take the first question, which is as an individual. Yes, the courses have been designed and put on Educate as individual learning paths. So the 25 hours of the path or the course module is for every individual. The only, and this will answer my second question also. The only criteria that we have on the Educate portal is faculties or students who are joining the program have to be in association with an academic institute. So, for example, what I mean here is that you have to be a faculty at an institution, or you have to be a student at an institution. If you have passed out of the institution, then Educate is not the program for you. There are other programs offered by our training and certification team where you can enroll. But if you are a student with an academic institution, whether it's in the first year or the fourth year, you can be a part of Educate as a program. So, and the way we determine this is that we encourage students and faculty members to join the program with their institution email ID. It is not necessary that the institution has to be a member. Even if your institution is not a member, you can still join the program as an individual, provided you use your institution domain email ID.
All right. One other question also on AWS. The question is broadly around, there's a lot of tools that are currently in the market, which is bringing the student and the faculty together. It could be web conferencing tools or communication tools or similar. Is there any tool on AWS that might be of particular interest to the faculty in kind of reaching out to students?
See, there are various tools and services that AWS offers. Some of the services which I may name might sound very new to people here. We have a service known as Workspaces. We have something known as AWS Connect. We have the AWS Chime. So these are some of the services and tools which are available from AWS. However, you need to understand that AWS offers these tools and services as Lego blocks, right? So someone will have to arrange these tools and services in a sequence to be able to use as a solution. We do have a network of partners who have used these services and stitched them together to offer as a solution. But as a pure solution only for, or I would say a ready-made solution is not something that AWS provides very, very frequently. We have these services which can be used to create solutions for usage, by institutions and faculties and customers.
Okay. So the next question is coming from Amit Manakshe. So his question is around, as a faculty of an engineering institute, what are the things that we could do to make use of this downtime in terms of skilling ourselves up, whether it could be related to AWS or any other cloud technologies? So I think it's, if Amit, if you can touch upon some certifications that could probably lead to training kind of pathways.
Yeah. So I think this is an ideal time for both faculty and students to actually utilize the time and skill themselves up. And Educate provides you the right platform to be able to do that. Whether you want to skill up yourself in machine learning, you want to create projects which you want to give to your students, by using machine learning or data science or in cybersecurity or in IoT. Educate provides you with the content which you can consume on your own and then create projects. You can also collaborate with faculty members who are part of the program across the globe. There are more than 10,000 faculty members who are part of this program, and they have contributed a lot of content and projects onto the portal. So you can actually download that, or you can contribute it back to the portal and exchange ideas with these faculty members across the globe. So use the portal to the hilt during these times to skill up yourself, create projects for your students, create a culture of innovation. And that's an earnest request because India has that potential, and we should encourage innovation in all our institutions to be able to reap the benefits of this time.
All right. So I have a very specific question on setting up centers. So this person is asking, there is proposals from different organizations and technology companies to set up a computing lab. So is AWS program also similar to that? I guess I'll reframe the question. So there's a lot of organizations, tech organizations are setting up dedicated labs to probably get students accustomed to using that particular platform or technology. Now, the question is probably, is AWS, does AWS also offer such a program?
Yes, as I had mentioned, the AWS Campus is a program where we work collaboratively with institutions to create those kind of labs or expertise areas, whether it's in the areas of machine learning or big data or IoT or whatever. That's one aspect. The other aspect is the Educate program also offers the power to the faculty members to create their own cloud labs. So they can create their own cloud lab on machine learning. They can create a cloud lab on big data. We have to understand that the days where you had a physical setup of a lab are gone. What you need is a lab environment on the cloud, which can be accessed by students sitting anywhere, even at home, and still be able to work on projects and get that practical hands-on experience. So we do help or we do work with institutions to set up cloud labs, but these are not the physical labs that generally people have in mind.
Right. Thank you, Amit. The next question is for Sriram. There's a lot of students of the 2020 batch who have applied for higher education overseas, and they have scores and everything ready, offers from universities, etc. Now they seem to be at a career crossroads. Some of them having opted out of placements, etc. So how could a career development center help them?
This is a very valid and relevant question. Let me, answer this by giving a specific example of SRM. Now, as I mentioned, given our huge size, the placement process pretty much begins 10 months or 11 months before the student actually graduates the following year. So for those students, we when we open up the placement registration, there are two things here. One is the student's interest in getting placed, and the second is the student's, eligibility, whether the student fulfills the eligibility criteria. So every year we have, a set of students who are very clear that they are not interested in placements, though they may be eligible because they are clear that they want to go abroad. In fact, we encourage students to take a decision pretty early on because they shouldn't end up spoiling other students' chances who are otherwise interested in placements. So we try to separate the two sets of students pretty early in the placement process. Now, coming to this year, it is quite possible that there would be some students who have opted out of placements, and they are there somewhere in the whole going abroad process, because it's a fairly lengthy process. Right from the time you select the university, then you prepare for the GRE exams, and wait for the scores, you apply. Now, for such students, and I guess that the whole process is must be in a kind of a limbo right now. And for such students, as I was mentioning a little early on, we hope to resume the placements once we get back to campus, which hopefully should be in June. And in case there are some students who would like to enroll for the placements, provided they meet the eligibility norms, we may be willing to consider that. And then they would be eligible to sit for those companies which come to campus at that point in time. Now, I may add a word of caution here, is that this is all based on the presumption that we resume in June. Now that's assuming that the flights resume, and students are able to come, and before that the faculty are able to join. So there are some ifs and buts here, so I need to qualify this remark. But in a general sense, what I would like to say is that wherever possible, I would urge the students to, defer their, admission to the next semester. Because most leading universities abroad have the option to defer the admission, from one season to another. So if that's possible, they may want to explore that option, because times are uncertain, and even if India opens up in stages, now it all depends on when other countries open the process. And so I was told, I was just talking to some people, some students included, and they mentioned that those they have admissions. In fact, there was a student who has admission from 8 universities in US, but there is so much of uncertainty, and the thing is, the consulate has not yet opened for student visas. So that is another factor that they will need to consider. So most consulates in any case are closed. So there are a lot of these are pretty much gray areas, and we will have to wait. So the long and short of it is that in case the application, in case there is an admission, firm admission, then the student, it may perhaps be a good idea to defer the admission to the next season wherever possible. I hope I've answered the question.
Definitely, sir. Thank you very much. So the next question is a fairly basic question. It's coming from Ravi, who's asking, is AWS Educate just another MOOC? Amit, would you like to answer this?
Well, I think we'll have to first understand what is a MOOC. As per the full definition of MOOC is a massively online courses available. So Educate is not a MOOC as such, but yes, it is an online self-service tool for gaining skills. The content is curated. It is curated by the AWS content team. That's one aspect. The other aspect is if you're looking at it from a perspective of does it qualify under the MOOC list that AICTE has approved that 20% of semesters can be content can be delivered through MOOC platforms and students can get credits for it. Yes, it does qualify under that category.
Right. So I have another question again for Amit from Shankar Narayan. So the question is, would we be able to get any help from AWS Educate in curriculum design and development for cloud computing? Or would there be any guidelines that people can readily take up?
Yeah. Yes. So as I mentioned, there is a curated content which is online self-service learning modules, but there's a lot of content which has been contributed by faculties across the globe on the portal. These can be in the form of a full curriculum. It could be in the form of class notes. It could be in the form of projects. So every faculty member is welcome to go through that content repository, download it, and use it as they like.
All right. Would I be right in adding, Amit, that apart and over and above the courses that AWS Educate offers, another important point worth noting is that you also give access to the platform and free credits, so that invites the student and the faculty to experiment what they learn on your platform itself. So that would also be a differentiating factor from a MOOC, right? Am I right?
Correct. So, it's one thing to just consume content. The other thing is to actually have a hands-on experience. So Educate provides you the content as well as access to AWS services along with cloud credits so that you can do your hands-on practicals and projects and assignments with real life scenarios. And this is not a simulated environment. It is the access to the live AWS console.
Right. So another question is about contact details to reach out to AWS Educate. So is there a ready website that we can lead them to?
Yeah, it is www.awseducate.com.
Right.
That's the
I'll
website.
Just message it to the. I'll just sending a message on a chat to everyone. So www.awseducate.com.
Yeah. The other thing is that if you have any further queries, you can write an email to educateindia@amazon.com.
So I've mentioned both the website as well as the email address in chat. So if any of you want to get further details, you can reach out on this particular email ID or the website. I'd probably take one last question before we conclude. It is from Abhi Krish. I'm currently a visiting faculty. Will I be able to enroll in Educate? I think this person is a contract faculty.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if the visiting faculties are issued with institution domain email IDs. If not, if you can provide a letter from the institution that you are a visiting faculty, that would also suffice.
Great. So thank you very much, Amit and Sriram, for taking your time out and giving us very valuable insights to our audiences in terms of your specific experience in AWS as well as SRM IST. This has definitely left us with a lot of actionable insights to get started with. So I'll conclude my webinar here. Any concluding remarks, Sriram and Amit?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much, Vijay, for sharing this platform and giving me an opportunity to participate in this. And Amit, it has been a pleasure getting to know you, and certainly look forward to staying in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much, Vijay, and thank you to all the participants of this webinar. Thank you, Mr. Sriram. I look forward to be
My
in
pleasure.
touch with you. It was
Certainly.
an experience webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sriram. Just a closing note to the audience is the next webinar in this Transformation Essentials series is on 15th May, 3 to 4 p.m. This webinar is titled Winning Over Recruiters Remotely. So this is specifically to staff of the training and placement departments of colleges and universities. And if you'd like to attend, please register in the link shown on the screen. You can also check out our LinkedIn page, FacePulse, to get the same link. It's going to be from 3 to 4 p.m. on 15th May. The session will be presented by Rajesh Kumar, who's the co-founder of Face. So thank you again for the panelists, and thank you for the attendees. Catch you in the next episode.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.